Hello everyone, I'm Renzo MOCs, and welcome back to another Bionicle MOC review. Today we are taking a look at a long-awaited MOC, the first MOC review of 2020 in fact. Today we're taking a look at Mech Warrior Abby. Let's get right into her. So, a couple things right before we get into the MOC. First of all, I've got a little bit of a backstory to share with you guys about Abby. First of all, she was a MOC that was conceived out of a lack of ideas. So, I built a bunch of MOCs for Renzo, right? I'm still working on Renzo. It's coming, guys. I swear to God, it's coming. But I had to build like 30 plus MOCs for Renzo. It's annoying. All my parts are taken up. Not to mention, I'm working on Biorama, so my other half of parts have been taken up by Biorama characters. Doesn't matter. Anyways, so I was really bored and I wanted to build a MOC and I didn't really know what to do, but I had a sort of epiphany. I was like, well, I should probably try using system, which I rarely use. So I started messing around with system until I eventually got this head, and I really liked the head design. I was like, hey, maybe I could do something with that. So that is why Abby is the way that she is. This is why the MOC has a lot of system involved in it, and why the build is kind of cheaped out in a lot of aspects, but it's also detailed in others. You get the point. But I won't waste any more time. Let's jump right into it. First up, her legs. They're sort of designed to look like, generic mech legs, where they're really, really big thighs and like smaller lower halves. Something like that. I was trying to get the point across. I'm actually quite happy with the thighs. I think they look really cool. There was a lot of detail packed in there. It's not perfect. The articulation is very, very minuscule. I could have fixed that, but it's because of the whole connection point. It was just weird from how I normally do legs. It was very, very different. I was trying to get a very different look and feel to it. And there's a lot going on there. I just put everything in there that I could, Lower half of the legs aren't super interesting, but I mean, I guess they get the job done well enough. It's not anything to write home about. The feet especially, I really wanted to make these look interesting. Originally, the heel part was actually flipped the other way, but it just didn't look very good, and I realized that I sort of needed to make the feet a bit more defined in order to make them stand up, and I just flipped them around because it was, hey, they look like toes. Not super proud of it. If I could change it, I definitely would. In fact, the entire lower leg portion is just not very good at all. I already mentioned how weird the leg articulation was, but I'll give you an example here. You can bring the leg up a decent amount, but you just can't really move it. You can move it side to side very well, but you can't really move it outwards. It's weird. It's very limited in how it's actually moved. You can lift it up high enough, you can move it back well enough, you can actually move it in and out, but besides that, you can't really do much with it other than that. And then especially the knee, you can't move that knee forward because of the way that it's bent. It's sort of like it's bent like that, so you can unnaturally bend it if you want to, but that just looks gross. And then the heel has a good amount of articulation, but it's very standard. It's not like it's an open ball joint. It's mostly side to side. Alright, so this torso is freaking weird, but I will actually defend it. I think it's well built. I think it looks nice. However, there are a few structural flaws. For instance, no movement in there, which really sucks. I think a ball joint or something would have definitely benefited the build. It's just stationary, which makes it very awkward. But there's a lot going on in there. And yeah, I did mention it's structurally not very sound. It's kind of all shoved together very haphazardly. You'll notice the actual axle is sticking out. And that's because of the way it's all connected. It's kind of like forced pushed in there, so it's very, very rocky connection. I don't know, it's not very solid whatsoever. It's really like haphazard. Another thing that sucks about the build is that the neck part falls off a lot. It's because of the connection. It's incredibly loose and basically is only held in by that head. And that sort of forms the back of the neck there. And I like the look of that a lot, but unfortunately, yeah, it is loose, so if you shake it about too much or it's not properly connected, it will just flap around, which is unfortunate. But a big feature about Abby is that you can actually take her head off, and doing this will reveal a little bit more of the torso and how I built it, especially that chest there. And like I said, Abby is its own separate build. I will get into that in a little bit. There's more to that feature, but you can see a bit more of the chest build. Especially, I do like the ball joint, the white ball joint in there with the armor piece. I think that looks quite nice. But other than that, I mean, it's nothing crazy. It's a very standard Technic built torso. There's a lot of system bits shoved in there, but you know, it's nothing to write. It's nothing crazy. You know, it's fairly standard system mocking. Meanwhile, these arms are a bit of a mixed bag. I like them, but I also don't like them. Like, from some angles, they look nice. From other angles, they look terrible. And it's just because of mostly because of how I decided to make these arms. It's built on this really weird angle where if you put the arms down, it looks really bizarre, or if you hold them up too high, it looks really bizarre. And that's also mostly because of the shoulder armor. The shoulder armor is not very good at being shoulder armor. It just kind of hangs there and looks awkward most of the time. But thinking about it like a mech, I guess, it's it just looks like a robotic, like, it's not supposed to look natural, I guess. It's more of just a robotic, like, mesh. I don't know. I'm not super proud of the arms. I think they're probably my least favorite part about the MOC. They just don't have very much movement that I would rather have in there, and it's very limited. Avi's hands were actually thrown on at very last minute because I don't have any ball joints. But, I mean, they're fine. They're very standard hands. I do this technique all the time. It's a very simple technique, and I thought it would be weird to not give her hands, so here they are. Alright, let's talk about this head, because this is honestly probably the best part about the MOC. I think this head looks great. I really like the aesthetic of it. I think it looks nice. But let's get down to the nitty gritty. There is no articulation in this thing. This thing cannot move whatsoever, and that is because it is all connected by this stupid piece, which gets into the transformation, and the neck is like attached to the head. It looks like there would be articulation, but there's none. You can't move it around really at all. You can kind of tilt it side to side a little bit, but that is the bare minimum. It is very, very weak. So I think it's sort of a style over function for this head. I think it looks better than it does actually function as a head. I think just aesthetically it looks nice, and I think that's all that really matters. Again, I do like the look of this head. I think it looks good. So let's get into the transformation. You just pop the head off, and story-wise, I'll get a little bit into the story a little bit later, but basically, Avi can actually launch her head off like this, and it can transform into a small tactical drone known as Apis, and you'll see why in a second. You flip those bits down, and it's a very, very simple transformation, but you just basically bring everything down and lift some things out. Basically, it will just look like the head if it was extended. And it will look like this. This is the end result. This is Apis, and like I said, he's a little tactical drone, and he's just a cute little thing. He is a monkey, a funky monkey with passion and grace and style and cool. Alright, so quick story time. I'm not going to go in crazy detail. If you want to hear a little bit more about it, check out my Instagram, but here we go. Avi's from a universe where humans have been wiped out completely, and the world has been taken over by big kaiju creatures, big monsters. And machines have risen up. They've grown intelligence, and they have sort of been replaced humans as the dominant species. Now robots work to fight against the big monsters, and Avi is part of a small resistance group of robots who fight against the big monsters. She is a fighter, and she is she's not very smart. She's more of just the run and gun type of girl who just goes in there, and she's kind of a klutz, but regardless, she's a very good fighter, and she does her best to prove her worth to the team. Now, what's a fighter bot without some weapons? Now, Avi being a bot and all, a story is that she can actually pop off her hands and switch them out for her weapons because there are ball joints on the weapons. That's also a practical reason, and that's the reason why there are ball joints on her weapons. And she has this big gun. I don't know what type of gun it is. Don't ask me. I'm not good with weapon types. Like an SMG or something. I don't freaking know. But it's this big old laser gun, and it's big, and it's automatic, and it shoots a lot. I don't know. It's a little yellow laser gun. I don't freaking know. She's also got this laser sword, and I don't really like this very much. I mostly just wanted to see how this Ninjago sword looked on a MOC, and I don't think I did it very well at all. I need to go back and sort of rethink about how to make this look good on a MOC. And yeah, no, the posing just does not work here. It's because of the pose of the weapon. I think it just needs to be angled out from the hand, not holding it, because holding it just looks super awkward. So I want to go back and fix this. It just looks wrong. So I should mention Avi's scale. I mentioned she's a robot, and scale-wise, I'd say a minifigure is about the size of a normal person. I'd say about 5 foot, whatever, almost 6 feet tall. So that's for Avi's scale. This is Avi's height compared to a normal human being, so she's quite big, and that makes the monsters in this world quite big too. Just thought I'd show a little bit of a comparison here, for comparison's sake, I guess.
Oh, look, she can even hold him. Ain't that adorable?
And here's Emmett next to Apis. Beautiful comparison, and he can even ride Apis, which makes it all worthwhile. Alright folks, get ready, because here comes my spiel. So Avi is a bit of I'd say she's a bit of achievement for me, mocking wise, but also a bit of a realization. This is a mock that I never really built mocks like this before, and I gotta say I'm proud with what I was able to do with it. It's one of my best built mocks. I think it has the most unique or interesting techniques. I don't often build custom torsos. I don't often build with systems, so she's definitely an achievement for me in many ways, but also and by realization what I mean is Avi has a lot of problems that can easily be relegated, and I realized I'm not very good at doing that. So what I hope to do in the future when making mocks, I hope when I move forward, I want to make mocks better and make them function better, because clearly there was a lack of that this time. But what I hope I can eventually do is I hope I can change it so that Avi becomes one of my better mocks, or an example of a stepping stone, I guess. Sorry for ranting, just wanted to let a few thoughts out. Either way, I want to know what you guys think about Avi, leave a comment, whatever. I really appreciate it that some people are still watching my videos, even though I don't get very many views anymore. Doesn't matter, I'm just happy there are a few people who still watch my videos, and I will continue to make mock reviews and continue to work on videos. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I'm Renzo Mox, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.